Evolution is a scientific concept that explains the story of life, how it began, and possibly how it will change in the future. But there are untrue assumptions that the public makes about evolution that often stem from an inability to face facts that can harm the growth of the sciences in the future. As John Berger puts it in his essay Ways of Seeing, many of these assumptions no longer accord with the world as it is. He defines these learned assumptions as prior knowledge of or misconceptions that affect how we react to new ideas. First off, what is evolution? Evolution is a theory whereby the mechanism of natural selection acting on small mutations to a species' genes explains the current diversity of living things. It explains that species are always changing and will continue to do so. By extrapolating backwards, we can hypothesize that all life had one common origin from which it evolved. The theory of evolution is firmly backed by the fossil record, Mendelian genetics, developmental biology, and many other sciences. It is a well-grounded theory with the backing of virtually the entire scientific community and is taught in most high schools throughout America. So where do wrong assumptions about evolution come from? Most of them stem from religion. Religious teachings have long since had a monopoly on explanations dealing with the origins of life, so some practitioners, especially those for whom their religion is a central part of their lives, evolution feels like a slap in the face, prompting visceral reactions from the overzealous, especially those of a Christian persuasion. However, it seems this rejection of scientific knowledge is largely a problem in the United States rather than Europe, where most citizens, including Pope John Paul II and the current Pope Benedict XVI, accept the theory. So, what do these American fanatics sometimes assume? Assumption 1. If humans evolved from monkeys, then why do monkeys still exist? This argument is ignorant and it wrongly assumes that an entire population is converted to another. People with these assumptions are generally not taken seriously and are subject to ridicule. Assumption 2. Mutations are always a bad thing, and thus natural selection couldn't work on them. However, this argument assumes that all life is already perfect and that no changes will make it better, which is untrue. Assumption 3. Evolution is only a theory and thus somehow subject to the opinions of laypeople. This arises from a miscommunication regarding the definition of theory, which means in a scientific setting, a coherent group of tested general propositions commonly regarded as correct that can be used as principles of explanation and prediction for a class of phenomena. Its existence is not really open for debate. Assumption 4. It's never been observed. This is false. It is observable in organisms with small enough generation time and has even been shown to occur in humans. Flu vaccines are made necessary by the changes that occur in the flu virus species, and humans in Tibet have been shown to have evolved from earlier Han Chinese to suit higher altitudes in a matter of 2,800 years. Assumption 5. Irreducible complexity. Irreducible complexity is a more recent argument put forth to explain that extremely complex organs like the flagella could not have evolved because the organ's simpler forms did not perform a function and so natural selection could not have worked on them. For example, the mousetrap will not work if any of its parts are missing. However, this is false because it was shown that earlier versions of an organism did not need to perform the same function, just one that natural selection favored. Thus, the flagella's earlier forms were that of a stinger used to inject poison. And in the mousetrap analogy, if some of the mousetrap parts were taken away, it could still function as an inelegant tie clip. These 5 assumptions show a cross-section of an anti-intellectual mindset that seems to exist exclusively in the United States. And as the United States continues to fall behind European and Asian test scores, unfortunately, the future of scientific pursuit seems to shift away from the US and towards other nations.